Both my parents was basically in and out my life. Pretty much grew up in group homes, foster cares, and and entering the life of drugs, it really allowed me to make wrong choices and decisions. I ended up in gangs, ended up in prison and incarcerated. It really distracted me from what I thought was reality.
There's a growing body of evidence about the impact of trauma on people and trauma that could have occurred when you were 4 years old or 5 years old and how that kind of rewires your brain. I grew up in New York in the 80s, and I grew up thinking that watching other human beings sleeping on the street was just this normal part of the social fabric. And it was. It was just something you saw, you accepted, and that was kind of what was going on. And pretty soon, as my kids were growing up, they were asking me, why is that person sleeping out on the street? Why is that person there? And there's not a good answer for that.
No one should be judgmental, because everyone is dealt their own hand. When you become grown or you become of an age, then you have to start making, some kind of choice.
All of the problems that exist in the homeless community exist in the housed community on a much broader scale. And the difference is that we have the luxury of closing a door behind us before we, if I get into a disagreement with my wife, then, we don't have to do that at a bus stop. We don't have to go home after a hard day of work. You don't just go and have a beer in the park. You go and do it at a bar or someplace where it's acceptable. So by definition, homeless folks are really forced to live their private lives in public.
This is my second time here. My first time here was last year. It wasn't my first time being homeless. A lot of people you'll find like myself have sort of a pattern of homelessness. And so that's kind of something that I've been struggling with throughout my life. To work one day, and he told me he had to let me go. I had been told that I was a good worker, but he told me he had to let me go, and I was evicted from my home.
I'm a recovering addict. I have grown up in a two-parent household. I had every opportunity given to me, and still ended up bouncing around from place to place and sleeping in cars. And most people have made exactly the same mistakes as everybody out here. Most people have dealt with many of the same traumas or the same, substantial crises in their life, but had some support to hang on to whatever last bit of stability they could that kept them from coming here. One of our case managers will always say, when somebody comes in and they say, I can't do this anymore, or I can't get into a house, I can't do this, or I can't do that, I'm just gonna say, do you know how much you've been through? Look at all of the things that you have dealt with so far that got you here today. So you can do it, you're already doing it, and you are already one of the strongest people we could possibly know. There are very few people who could have endured what you have just gone through, made it to where you are today, and still be in a spot where you're here and available to talk about what possible resources and what possible help we can provide.
I've been out there putting out 1,000 applications every day, and I told the people straight up, man, I got a record, and I told them the ins and the outs of that, and I just kept on plugging. I didn't give up, even when I wanted to, even when I wanted to get high, even if I wanted to fall back to those old buddies, you know what I'm saying? But I had to stick with it.
I know where to find things that will take me back, but I'm going to continue pressing forward, and I want to be a blessing to people who are in there still, rather than be drawn into it. So that's my goal.
I got employment, getting ready to move into my place on the 2nd. I go to an NA group every Tuesday, and just had to leave the drugs alone, had to leave a lot of this stuff alone, and really get serious about my recovery, serious about having to conquer this homelessness, you know what I mean? And I'm not fully all the way there, but I'm working towards that.